What's going on, guys? It is the Coaster Battleman here, bringing you a pretty cool video, the top 10 worst roller coasters of all time, USA only. I know there are some bad coasters in Europe, such as Goodricks, which is a very bad Vekoma looping coaster, and it's known for being unbearably rough and having super long lines that aren't even worth the wait, so these are the top 10 worst coasters of all time, USA only. Number 10 are the Vekoma Invertigo models, and I just want to talk real quick about these coasters. There are a few of these Vekoma Invertigos out there, like Invertigo at Kings Island and Stinger at Dorney Park, but quite a few people, including my sister, hate this ride due to its roughness. This coaster, it was unbearably rough the first time I rode this, but the second time I thought it was very fun. This coaster has some great G-forces. I know I might be saying this ride's good, but according to my sister, this is the worst coaster she's ridden, and it could be considered a very bad coaster to some people, so that's why it's on this list. You may disagree with me and rant about it all in the comments, but number 10 are the Vekoma Invertigo models. Next is Wolverine Wildcat at Michigan's Adventure. This is one of the two Din Corporation wooden coasters on this list. And this coaster, if you don't ride in the front row, this coaster is unbearably rough. There's no airtime at all on this ride. If RMC could make this ride super good, with a Storm Chaser style drop, excellent overbank turns, and amazing airtime moments, this could be the best coaster at Michigan's Adventure. But currently, right now, Wolverine Wildcat is a very bad wooden coaster that's known for being very rough. Number 8 is another wooden coaster, Son of Beast at Kings Island. Now, you could agree with me or disagree with me that this coaster should or shouldn't be on the list, but this coaster was the first wooden hypercoaster out there. This coaster is huge, but this coaster was pretty rough, and it has a bunch of boring turns that didn't look that good when I looked at the POV of this ride. The vertical loop looked very fun, but other than the vertical loop and that first drop, the ride kind of meandered around the course and was a pretty rough ride. I haven't ridden this coaster, and I'm never going to unless I travel back in time, which I won't, but Son of Beast, very bad coaster, considered one of the worst coasters out there of all time. Number 7 is a coaster that's currently operating, Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. This coaster, with virtual reality, is very good. Not very good, but at least okay. But without virtual reality, this coaster is terrible. The inversions aren't good due to their roughness, and this coaster has a lot of headbanging throughout the ride. It's just not a good coaster, in my opinion. Number 6 is Mean Streak at Cedar Point. This coaster is very rough besides the front row. If you ride this in the front row, it's okay, because it's, other than being rough, this coaster has a very boring layout, but RMC can use it to their advantage. What if this coaster gets RMC'd in 2017, which it probably will? Those standard turns could be banked turns, but with the ride currently now, those turns are just so boring. The airtime hills, no airtime. Mean Streak, very bad coaster and considered the worst coaster at Cedar Point. Number 5 is Shockwave at King's Dominion. This is one of the few Togo stand-up coasters that ever operated. And this Togo stand-up coaster closed last August of 2015, so Shockwave, very bad Togo stand-up coaster. But at least it was replaced by a pretty good flat ride Delirium, but Shockwave, the vertical loop definitely is the best part about this this roller coaster. But other than the vertical loop, the ride was just plain rough and jerky and not that fun for a stand-up coaster. A fun stand-up coaster would be a Riddler's Revenge style ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. But number 4 is Ninja at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is a Vekoma MK1200, and it's a very rough Vekoma coaster. There are several rough elements on this coaster, or there were. They still are on the ride, but this coaster had a major renovation in the 2016 season, as it's now called Blue Hawk and has vest restraints and it's mostly smooth. But when this coaster was Ninja, this coaster was unbearably rough and very brutal and shaky. Just not a good ride at all, originally. Now we're getting into 3 worst. Number 3 is another Aero Looper. 3 Aero Loopers, I should say. The 3 Aero Mega Loopers. Shockwave at Six Flags Great America. Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Great Adventure. And Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. All 3 of these coasters had 7 inversions, which is amazing for the time it was built. But these coasters were unbearably rough. And Viper still at Magic Mountain is unbearably rough. Each of these coasters were actually fairly large at the time they were built, but now they're kind of average heights. But for looping coasters, they're very good in height, but these coasters were just too rough for anyone to enjoy, so that's why they're on this list. Number 2 are the Vekoma SLCs. These are cloned coasters. They're all over the place. Some people have found ways to enjoy them, like me, but most people hate these Vekoma SLCs, especially the ones with your standard Vekoma over-the-shoulder restraints, which give you tons of headbanging throughout the ride. But these Vekoma SLCs are unbearably rough and not that fun. But number 1, the worst coaster of all time in the USA was Dropkin' Fire at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. At least these Vekoma SLCs are some decent rides at some parks, but Drakenfire, compared to Loch Ness Monster and Big Bad Wolf and Alpengeist, this ride was so bad. What kind of coaster was this? Drakenfire, an Aero Looper. Loch Ness Monster was the Aero Looper that everyone loved at Busch Gardens, but Drakenfire just ruined the spirit of the good aerodynamics coasters at Busch Gardens. But Drakenfire, if this coaster was built by B&M. It could have been built by B&M, but B&M told Busch Gardens to wait another year, which Busch Gardens should have waited another year until 1993 instead of 1992 to have Drakenfire, because Drakenfire turned out to be an aerodynamics looper that was not built right and became one of the roughest coasters in the world. And this coaster had no time to be around. Just too many people hated it, so that's why it closed in 1998 and was removed. So, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos.